let's just dive right into this explainer. AWS, Azure, Google Cloud, Cloudflare, Vercel. Look, if you glance at literally any tech job listing today, you're absolutely guaranteed to see at least one of these names. And if you peek under the hood of pretty much any modern startup, they're built right on top of them. But what do they actually do? And honestly, more importantly, which one should you actually care about for your own projects or your career? Well, today we're going to demystify every major cloud service, and we're stripping away all that fluffy tech jargon to give you exactly what matters.
We've got a seriously packed roster today. 1. What is the cloud? 2. AWS. 3. Microsoft Azure. 4. Google Cloud Platform. 5. Cloudflare and Vercel. And finally 6. The verdict. Starting things off with Section 1. What is the cloud? So before we start introducing the heavy hitters, we kind of need to clear the air for a second. The term the cloud sounds, incredibly ethereal, right? Like all your data is just magically floating around somewhere up in the sky. But the reality is actually incredibly grounded, super physical, and highly practical. Here's the absolute simplest, most accurate definition you're ever going to hear. The cloud is literally just someone else's computer. That's it. Instead of running your app on some clunky physical server sitting down in your basement, where, by the way, you have to pay for the electricity, figure out the cooling, and constantly upgrade the hardware, you're simply renting space on massive, state-of-the-art servers owned by companies like Amazon, Google, or Microsoft. They handle all the physical hardware stuff, you just handle your software. And the absolute beauty of this whole setup, you only pay for what you actually use. If 1 million people suddenly visit your app overnight, boom, the cloud automatically scales up to handle it. That's the core idea. So let's meet the players who actually make this happen. Moving to Section 2, AWS, the industry standard. Listen, when people say the cloud, this is almost always what they mean. AWS commands a massive 31% of all cloud infrastructure worldwide. I mean, it is the biggest provider by a mile. To put that insane scale into perspective, platforms like Netflix, Airbnb, and even organizations like NASA and the CIA, they all run on AWS. When AWS goes down, and yeah, it actually has happened, half of the internet literally feels it immediately. But, with great power comes some seriously incredible complexity. AWS offers over 200 different services. Whether you need storage, databases, machine learning, video streaming, or IoT infrastructure, honestly, if you can think of it, AWS has a highly specific service built for it. But that massive catalog is totally a double-edged sword. It has a 5-star complexity rating for a reason. The learning curve is notoriously steep, and just trying to navigate their pricing structures can be genuinely mind-boggling. It's built for scrappy startups and massive enterprises alike, but man, it demands serious expertise to run well. So the bottom line is this. AWS is the undisputed industry standard. Because it's the most powerful and flexible platform out there, it's the one that almost every job posting asks for. If your goal is to learn cloud computing strictly to advance your tech career, AWS is absolutely where you need to start. Next up, Section 3, Microsoft Azure, the enterprise favorite. Coming in as our second heavyweight, Microsoft Azure holds about 24% of the market. But Azure's true superpower isn't really just its sheer size, it's its seamless connection with the tools that big businesses are already relying on every single day. Look, if a company is already running Windows, using Active Directory for user logins, or operating heavily on Office 365, Azure just plugs right into that existing ecosystem perfectly. IT teams don't have to learn some completely foreign system, everything just kind of snaps together. Plus, Azure has this incredibly strong hybrid cloud setup, meaning you can easily run your super sensitive stuff on your own private servers and then seamlessly connect them to everything else running up in Azure. And that right there is exactly why Azure is the second most in-demand cloud skill out there. If you're aiming to land a job at a large, established corporation, you are almost certainly going to be plugging into the Microsoft Azure ecosystem. It is hands down the definitive cloud for the modern enterprise. Which brings us to Section 4, GCP, the AI powerhouse. Taking the bronze medal at number 3 is Google Cloud Platform, or GCP. It holds roughly 12% of the market, sure, but its infrastructure for AI and machine learning is completely unmatched. Google has literally designed custom chips specifically for AI, called TPUs or tensor processing units. And they offer these absolute powerhouse tools like BigQuery for massive data analytics and Vertex AI for machine learning. Actually, fun fact, while ChatGPT runs on Azure, Google's own massive suite of AI tools runs right here on GCP. So if your daily work involves data science or machine learning, GCP absolutely demands your attention. Oh, and here's a massive insider tip for you. Google actually offers the most generous free tier among the big three. It makes it the absolute perfect sandbox for experimenting without accidentally racking up some horrific surprise bill. All right, Section 5, the web layers, Cloudflare and Vercel. Okay, now that we've got our three infrastructure heavyweights covered, let's totally shift gears. Cloudflare is a completely different kind of cloud. It doesn't actually compete with AWS or Azure directly at all. Instead, it acts as this protective shield and speed accelerator that sits right in front of your application. It operates a content delivery network, or CDN. Basically, it copies your website to servers all around the globe so users are always loading it from somewhere physically nearby, which makes it blazing fast. It also provides critical DDoS protection, blocking those massive floods of fake traffic before they ever even touch your actual servers. It handles your DNS, your SSL certificates for security, and even lets you run little bits of serverless code at the edge. And amazingly, Cloudflare does a huge chunk of this for free, which is exactly why it currently sits right in front of over 20% of the entire internet. Now let's contrast that heavy backend stuff with Vercel. While AWS handles that highly complex backend infrastructure we talked about, Vercel is the exact opposite. It's a cloud built specifically from the ground up for front-end developers. The whole goal of Vercel isn't to overwhelm you with 200 complicated services. The goal is to let you deploy a slick website in literally 30 seconds. It's so simple, you just connect your GitHub repository, push your code, and bam, your site is live. Vercel actually built and maintains Next.js, which is the most popular React framework in the world right now. Because it's designed so that you never even have to think about servers, it includes automatic scaling and global CDNs right out of the box. That kind of seamless developer experience is the exact reason why modern startups are able to ship new features so unbelievably fast these days. Finally, Section 6, the final verdict. All right, let's tie all of these different profiles together into a cheat sheet. Here is your rapid-fire summary to basically strip away all the guesswork. If you're learning the cloud purely to get a job, start with AWS, period. If you're working in a massive corporation, master Azure. Building AI or hardcore data products, look straight at Google Cloud. If you are running literally any website at all, put Cloudflare in front of it. And if you're front-end dev just trying to build a fast web app, use Vercel. But here's the honest truth, and honestly the biggest takeaway from our explainer today. These platforms are not strictly competitors in every single category. They really aren't. Most modern companies actually use a stack. Like, they might use AWS for their heavy backend databases, rely on Cloudflare as their CDN for that global speed, and then use Vercel to host their lightning-fast frontend. See, they're layers that all work together to create the modern web. And having a solid structure is everything when you're navigating this space. Just like the structured production notes that were used to map out this exact topic, you need rigorous planning to cut through all the tech jargon. Whether you're building a massive web app from scratch or you're just a beginner trying to learn the ropes, you absolutely have to map out your layers. But hey, the really good news is that the core concepts of cloud computing, things like scalability, networking, permissions, they transfer seamlessly between all of these platforms. Once you learn one, the others become so much easier to grasp. So I guess the only real question left for your own learning journey and your career is this: which layer of the cloud are you going to dive into today?